Did you ever wonder what could have been with the AWA had things gone differently? Had their fortunes gone differently? Had certain wrestlers not left and perhaps more money would have been at the disposal of the Ganyas? Well, wonder no further. You can go to Brad Drake's YouTube channel and experience the 1987 Supermod for yourself, as Brad Drake starts off in May 1987 along with Greg Gagne, Baron von Raschke, Vern Gagne himself, Nick Bockwinkel, Larry Zbyszko, Kurt Hennig, and a slew of others as he plays and saves the AWA.
Thank you for an edition of Bumps and Thumps, the Talk of Wrestling. I'm Brian Ferguson. My guest today is a rising star on the independent circuit. He is also a member of the Rabid Empire with Nigel Rabid and Dread Roberts. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Lord Ateu. Lord, thank you for coming on today. I know you're busy.
It's a circus here, man. I got 3 little Atus running around. They don't make it easy. So if you hear little chattering in the background, that's them.
That's all right. That's all right. I just appreciate you giving us the time to have you on the show today. So talk a little bit, if you would, Lord, about growing up, where you're from, where you grew up, kind of your family background, if you would, please.
All right. Well, I grew up mainly in California. We moved all around, place to place. Never really had a stable home setting, so that's where wrestling kind of it helped. Like it feels like home because constantly traveling, having to go different places. So it's a nice it's something that works for my past. Um, Not too much. There's not a lot exciting about me growing up, man. Just grew up gang family, people getting shot, jail, stuff like that. So I had to turn to wrestling because I've had many teachers tell me I was by the time I'm at 18 or whatnot, I'm gonna be in jail or dead. So 33, showing you guys.
Yeah. Wow. That's well, you know what? I'll give you credit where credit's due here. You picked yourself up and got yourself out of that environment, and you should be commended for that, because sorry to say, a lot of people don't do what you did and end up in jail or dead or getting into drugs or other things that so I truly do commend you for it. So kudos to you, my friend.
Most of that kudos has to go to my dad. He's the one that finally saw what was going on after, like the third time of being shot at. He was like, "Oh shit, I gotta,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta change things," and got us out of that.
Yeah.
The thing that was my choice was I stayed away from it.
Yeah.
Where we ended up, it was in Orange County, California. So
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of gangs, not a lot of bad stuff going on there. There was stuff like in certain parts, but
Right.
you had to go find it. And I was actively not trying to find it. I was hanging out with all my white friends, my Asian friends, rock shirts. I don't. The thing that made me look semi-gangsterish was because my dad was gangster. He always had to shave my head, so I always had a shaved head. But I would offset that by wearing a bunch of like skull rings, biker rings. I had
Okay.
chains, bracelets. I even had these these Hot Topic special boots that were like went all the way up to my calf, buckles, metal. I was like, there's no way someone could look at me and be like, oh yeah, that guy's a gangster. But
That's
sure enough, it did happen.
yeah. Well, hey, let's talk a bit about then how did you get into the business? How did you get into pro wrestling? Let's first I want to say that I've seen you at Mid States Wrestling a number of times now, and I don't know how long you've been doing this, but I commend you because you're a great wrestler. You're
Thanks.
great, and you're a great talker, interviewer. When we're at these events and stuff, the when you're in your surroundings there with Nigel Rabid and Dread. I mean, it's great. I love it because it brings me back to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
The heels, the guys that bring that passion out of the audience to get them into the match. And I think that's a missing component. But we'll circle back here to a minute. How did you get involved in wrestling? Talk to us about that, please, Lord.
So that one's it's kind of a funny story. I've always been into wrestling since I was born into it. My dad watched wrestling with his uncles. They watched wrestling, so it was just something that we always grew up watching. So it was everyday part of life. Now, fast forward to when I was, I think 20 years old. I stumbled upon a Madden tournament at a GameStop in California, Cerritos, California. Uh, and while I was waiting for my turn or whatever, I saw these flyers, and it was for Championship Wrestling for Hollywood. At the time, it was NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and that's what caught my attention because the NWA title was featured, and then
Yeah.
Percy Pringle III, aka Paul Bearer, he was on there, and I was like, oh shit! And then uh, at the time, I didn't know who he was, but now everyone knows his name, L.A. Knight. Yeah, he was the
Yeah.
I believe the champion at the time with Paul Bear being his manager. So I marked out, I popped, I was like, oh shit, I know that bell. I just seen it on TNA like 2 weeks ago. And the guy that was behind the counter goes, "You like wrestling?" I was like, "Dude, I love wrestling." So he gives me the flyer and he goes, "This is our first taping. It's going to be in Santa Ana. You should check it out." So me and my ex-wife went, she was my wife at the time. We checked out the show. She's not a wrestling fan at all. She actually hates it. That was the that was one big thing about our relationship because her brother loved wrestling, and he would just run up to her and go Brock Lesnar and pick her up and fucking throw her. Yeah. So he was not a fan, or she was not a fan of wrestling, but she still went with me. I was just, my jaw was dropped, dude. I was just watching. I was like, a lot of guys who are in WWE now were there at that show, or not just WWE, but AEW, like Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli, he was there. Peter Avalon, Brian Cage, I think he's in AEW as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those guys were all at Championship Wrestling Hollywood right before they started getting televised. Brian Danielson, he was there working it too. So it was just amazing to see that. And like halfway through the show, they announced that if you have questions or whatever, email us at this. So I was like, I just whipped out my phone, emailed them right then and there. I was like, how do I become a wrestler? What do I do? Because I thought it was just like a fucking factory that just made pro wrestlers that went straight to WWE. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know anything about the indies.
Yeah.
And oh, give me one second. This is where nature calls. But I I got an email from David Marquez who was running Championship Wrestling in Hollywood,
Yeah.
and he sent me to a school in Anaheim, literally right across the street from Disneyland, and
Okay.
Mach 1 Wrestling, M1W. And I was like just in love, dude. I went there, and the thing that scared me the most though was the promoter straight up told me, if I don't think that you're made to be a wrestler, I'm gonna tell you, and we'll find you a spot. Whether it be ref, commentator, timekeeper. security, we'll find you something. So every time I trained my ass off because
Yeah.
like no, there's nothing wrong with any of those positions in wrestling. A lot of those
Yeah.
they make the show go.
Yeah.
They're cogs in a machine. I just was like, my heart was set on being a wrestler. I was like, that's what I am. That's what I have to be.
Yeah.
Granted, I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into, but I went,
Mm-hmm.
the first training, and it was it was a lot, man. Like I remember this one drill called
Hello, everyone. This is Brian Ferguson, the host of Bumps and Thumps, the talk of wrestling. I want to tell you about a new podcast out called Falls Count Anywhere. It is a classic pro wrestling podcast that brings you the legends of wrestling with true wrestling fans Chris DiCarlo and Charlie Turner. They bring on guests that are legends in this business, and as well as wrestlers of today, promoters, referees, you name it. They have them on there, folks. And I encourage you to listen to them. If you're on YouTube, watch them. They drop every Saturday. They have their podcast. They drop it in the afternoon. So look forward to that podcast coming out. Falls Count Anywhere podcast with Chris DiCarlo and Charlie Turner. Folks, you will not be disappointed. I guarantee it. And enjoy the podcast.
it's called it was like the tens or something, and
Yeah.
you start off and you do 10 push-ups, 10 jumping jacks, and like 10 squats, I think. And then you do 9 push-ups, 9 jumping jacks, 9 squats, all the way down to 1. And I was like, I was dying. I was like, dude, I don't know if I can do this. This is like, like it was so bad that while I was trying to do the push-ups, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he wrestles now, but a guy named Nick Madrid literally stood over me, grabbed me by my waist, and was helping me and down, up and down. And
Wow.
that, like, for me, that was like, all right, well, these guys are fucking cool. But, I was like, am I going to really be able to do this? Am I going to be able? And I just stuck it out and stuck it out and stuck it out
Yeah.
because, it was $250 to sign up. I was like, I gotta put this.
Yeah.
I can't just waste that money. So
Yeah.
I fought and I went and I was at practice every day. We had training. Beginners training was Monday, Wednesday. Advanced was Tuesday, Thursday. They told us just go Monday, Wednesday. I went every day. I
Yeah.
would I'd show up the advanced and they would have me do the drills and like get to the point where I was at and then just have me watch. And then every time I would come to those, I would do more and more until about like a month into training, I was already with the advanced guys. I was already doing the shit with them.
Wow.
And then 6 months after that, 6 months after training, I got my official debut in March of 2012.
Okay.
And it was against who would become my future tag team partner, Luis Tapia. Um, it was fun. It was cool. It was kind of frustrating though for the first match because I didn't know like really anything about ring match agents.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys who was like the ring general there, he was being our agent, and it kind of it was kind of rough because we had practiced and planned. Practiced and planned so much, so many spots, and like,
Yeah.
hey, stop. So many spots that we thought, we're not going to use them all. It's going to be like a 5-minute match.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't able to use not one spot. It was,
Oh, wow.
yeah, he was just like, you guys are going to do, one of you is going to do Universal. You're going to do the Universal initially,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to be mirrored. So you're gonna hit the hip toss, and then he's gonna get up. He's gonna hit the hip toss, and you're gonna hit a arm drag, and he's gonna hit an arm drag, and you're gonna hit a body slam. So it was kind of like, all right, it's not what we imagine what we do, and it's probably for the best because you know at that young of a career, was it I at that young of a career we were marks. You know, pretty much it was going to be if Austin versus Goldberg ever happened,
Yeah.
and that essentially what it was, you know, like
Yeah.
in practice we had one spot. It was like the finishing spot where he hits me with the Luthez press, and as I as you know, he's selling and he's getting all pumped up. He was gonna pick me up for something, and as he picks me up, I break out and I'll hit him with the European. And as he's supposed to sell around, I was gonna hit the ropes and then spear the shit out of him. It was just gonna be as simple as that. Like, not you know, nothing too crazy, but like
Right.
we definitely had an idea of what we wanted and what we wanted to do, and it just didn't
Yeah.
happen. And that was like, an, it sucked, but at the same time, it was a good. You're done, dude. Um, it was a good. It was good. It was like, all right, you know, things change in wrestling. Like the plan that you have coming in, the thing that you want to do, it's most likely not going to happen. So, how do
Yeah.
you adjust? What do you do? And
Yeah.
it was kind of cool to live through that because it helped me with my actual match prep. Because
Yeah.
when you know you'll call a spot or you have something planned, and then someone doesn't, you know, one of you guys don't remember, maybe the
Yeah.
ref's in the wrong spot, you know, what do? Do you just stand there and look like, oh, you know, or do you go, you know, you make it,
Yeah.
you act like that was part of the plan all the time, you know?
Yeah. Uh,
And my style, it's kind of weird. I tend to like that rough kind of, like when you watch a match and you're like, ooh, is this real? Is that a
yeah.
shoot?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I tend to like those matches more because you get more
Yeah.
crowd reaction. Because now it seems
Yeah.
like everyone's kind of to everyone's kind of numb to like you know, like flips and stuff. Like everyone loves it, but it's like, you know,
Yeah.
you see every match they do it, and
Hmm.
it's almost like watching someone do a suplex or a DDT. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, yeah, that was a cool 450, you know. And it's funny because out here, I've noticed people do pop for the big, you know, spine buster.
Hmm.
Like I watched at New Breed. That's another place that I'm working
Okay.
at right now,
Yeah.
and they I watched Joe Helms, Big Joe Helms, and the Iceman, and they had a match not so long ago, and Joe hit him with a spine buster, and you would have thought that, you know, they hit a Canadian destroyer off the top into a flaming table. That's how loud that pop was. That's how crazy these guys got
Wow.
for that. And it was like, oh wow, you know, like that old school style of wrestling is
Yeah.
still pretty big out here. No
Yeah.
matter what the fad is, they really love that
Yeah.
Harley race. You
Yep.
know, that kind of
Yeah.
ground and pound out here. So
Yeah.
it suits me.
Hey everyone, this is Brian Ferguson. Fans of the AWA, you are in for a real treat. My friend Joyce Poston has just released her book titled My Ringside Seat to the AWA. Joyce writes about her personal experiences with wrestlers such as Nick Bockwinkel, Lord Alfred Hayes, Baron Von Raschke, and others. Joyce also has published many photos from her collection that you will not see anywhere else. Order today by email at joyce.postion@gmail.com. Payment is through PayPal. The book is only $20 plus $6 shipping and handling. International orders, please email Joyce for shipping charge. Folks, run, don't walk to your keyboard, and order today. And enjoy the podcast. Yeah, it is old school in this area. I got to ask you, what brought you from California to
To Missouri.
mid-state? I get, Missouri,
Yeah.
Kansas, Illinois area. I mean,
Um,
where what brought you
um, so,
here?
so me and my wife kind of went from 0 to 60 really fast. We went from having, you know, getting together to having a family of four relatively fast. We popped out each of our kids one after another. They're all about a year apart.
Okay.
So it was just getting too expensive out there. And then
Mm-hmm.
my parents, they moved to Arizona with my brother, and they were trying to get us to move out there. But I was like, nah, dude, Arizona's too hot. Like right now in Missouri, folks watching, it's 64 degrees, and I'm
Yeah.
sweating. It's hot for me now. Like I'm so used to single digits, 20
Yeah.
degrees, 30 degrees. That 60 degrees is just too much for me, man. I'm like
Yeah.
the day it was like last week,
Yeah.
it was like 30 degrees, 35 degrees or something like that. So it wasn't
Yeah.
freezing anymore technically. I was walking around in my flip flops and my shorts and a tank top, and people were just like, and people who lived out here their whole lives just look at me like, what the hell? Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah.
California guy. Fucking, that's all he does.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I lived in Sacramento for a couple years, and
Oh, okay.
the definite difference in weather. So I understand that. But I want to ask you. You've been at Mid States or New Breed, Missouri area, a few years now. Who has been one of the people that you've really enjoyed working with as a wrestler, either as an opponent or as a tag team partner besides Dread? Because that's
Besides
your
Drip,
besides Dread.
he yeah, he's actually. I want to say he's the first person I've tagged with out here because I have been out
Okay.
in Missouri for about. Oh, there we go. All right, I have been out in Missouri for about 3 years now, going on three
Yeah.
years, but I've
Okay.
only been wrestling out here for close to like 7, 8 months. It's going to be a year in July
Okay.
or June because got into an accident when I was out here. It was a semi. I was driving a cement truck. It
Mm,
toppled over, messed up my back for a while.
mm,
Um, so when I finally got all that figured out and like fixed and got the okay to come back to work,
yeah.
I uh, I started just wrestling. And Mid States and New Breed were the first two I reached out to because New Breed for a second they had a training school out in Republic, and so I was like,
Mm,
oh sweet, that's someone to train or somewhere to train out here. And then I got hurt, and then within that time period that disappeared. So when I messaged them
yeah.
saying, hey, I'm good to go, are you guys looking, you guys do anyone booking? Here's my old stuff. Not as my beard isn't as black as all that anymore, and you know I can't say I'm not as because I was fatter back then. Like I'm kind of like I'm fat now, but it's going somewhere positive. Like I'm going in a good direction. I'm not getting bigger. I'm getting
It,
more tone and stuff like that. So
yeah. I was gonna say you're
it,
not. You're not. I've seen you in person. You're a big dude, but not big as in. How do I say this?
I'm no scat.
Sloppy
I'm no
big. You're
scat
not
cat.
sloppy big. You're not sloppy big. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
mean you're
yeah.
a big dude, and just for fans that haven't seen you in person yet, yeah, he's a big guy, but he's not sloppy big. You don't.
I'm
That's
sexy
the best
big.
way to
I'm
describe it.
sexy
Yeah.
big. There we go.
All right. So
But
yeah, go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, for the people out here that worked, um, I've had fun working with some of the newer students at Mid States, like Gabe and Trey.
Trey. Yeah.
They're yeah, those guys are like they go back and forth as like the matadors, and like they just do like they're smaller guys, so it's kind of fun to work with
They
smaller
are.
guys because I can
Mm.
catch them in the air and stuff like that. But Bert Bert Cameron,
Yep.
he's probably one of my favorites that I've worked with because he his his not just his wrestling personality, but
Mm.
the way he sees wrestling, the way he wants to work, the way he
Mm.
works. What the way he works, and then plus Dennis, you know his his uh
Yeah.
his I can't say mascot because he's not a mascot. He's like his own entity.
His
But
character's awesome. I love that
yeah,
guy.
anything Dennis does, I'm on board with,
Yeah.
man. Like one of one of my favorite things that I've done was I filmed a little vignette or promo on
Yeah.
on 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 Furt. It was supposed to be me and my goons kidnapped Dennis. We kidnapped Dennis, and but like it was one of those things where I sent them out. They had to go get their hands dirty, and then when I came to do the torturing, it wasn't Dennis. It was Elmo. And the reason behind my puppets because it was hand puppets that were my goons.
Right. Yeah.
They're colorblind, so they don't know red or blue. So
Oh.
I have the most fun where I get to like I look serious, I look scared. It's like a scary,
Yeah.
serious look. But then when you hear me talk and my ideas and the stuff I want to do,
Mhm.
it's not that because I like
Yeah.
my favorite era of wrestling was the Attitude Era, where it
Okay.
was half gimmick, really dumb, like that doesn't make sense, and
Yeah.
super like when you rewatch it, the wrestling isn't like the technical aspects. You're like, oh, okay,
Right.
it wasn't as great as I remember it, but it was the
Right.
characters. Those characters
Hmm.
made that wrestling like up here for me. Like
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I go by Atu or Lord Atu is because of guys like Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock, Kane. Like, and you just hear those names, you're like, that's not a name. But if you're in the
Yeah.
wrestling business, that's a name. Like I was this close to naming my kid Stone Cold Steve Austin. Um, and it works too
That
because
would
I'm
have been
Mexican. The
awesome.
Mexicans have a lot of names. He could have just been like, yeah, I'm white and Mexican, so we have it's all white names, but it's the Mexican it's a Mexican amount of names. And so
Oh.
yeah, my wife totally vetoed that. I was like, well, how about Undertaker or something? Taker, come on,
Ah!
give me something,
Maybe something, right? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I was like,
That is
I'm even
that's
cool, Jeff or Matt.
Wrestling fans, promoters, wrestlers, and anyone who enjoys pro wrestling now have something new to be excited about. The Wrestling Fans International Association, the WFIA, is back. WFIA is an association that exists to promote, grow, and support professional wrestling throughout the world. Membership is free. Your membership includes a free digital bi-monthly publication of the Wrestling Fan News newsletter, association updates, voting privileges, and much more. Please go to thewfia.org, that's THEWFIA.org, and become a member today. I gotta say, your era you talk about, I enjoyed actually the Monday Night Wars between
Mhm.
WCW and WWE. That's I think today that's the missing part of it. To me, I know you have Monday night and then AEW on Rampage on what is it Wednesday.
Yeah,
There's a few shows on now, but I'm saying back then that together at the same time and having to flip the channel back and forth, that was exciting. I mean, I miss that. That's me though. I was in my late 20s when that was going on, and you were a kid, I'm sure, and
yeah.
so yeah, I enjoy. I don't mind. I watch some of it today. Don't get me wrong, but I enjoy the indies a lot more. Your organization that you'll be at here shortly is Mid States. Jason Jones, all you guys are just so, how do I say it? So professional and so yet in character when you're on and when you're out there during either prior to the card starting or intermission. You guys are how do I say professional. You'll go up, you'll talk to the fans or whatever, you'll sign stuff. What I love the most is you don't push your merch, and your merch and getting in doesn't cost an arm and a leg. to get into a
Yeah.
WWE show, you're going to spend $200 at
Mhm.
least. Where at a mid states, I might spend with the ticket, maybe grabbing some grub and a couple items. I might spend $50.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you know what? The underrated thing at Mid States is the food. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like
Oh
that,
yeah.
they have pulled pork nachos. That shit is bomb, dude. Like that right there. I was like, oh man, because you don't get that in California. You get nachos, maybe some steak or some chicken, but pulled pork nachos, dude. Like that. That's one of the things I do love about being out here is brisket and pulled pork. Like
Yeah.
it's like out in California, sometimes you'll get like a really good barbecue place
Yeah.
and the pulled pork is pretty good. But I never had brisket until I came out here. But
That's
oh
good.
man,
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I had a brisket pizza one time, dude.
Yeah,
That right there was
that's good.
that one
Yeah.
right there was like life changing.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: Mid States. You work for New Breed, Mid States. Have you worked for Wrestling for a Cause? Rockwell's.
I have I have not. Those are the only two I've worked for right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to expand more this
Yeah.
year. It's a little tough because I have the kids, and then my
Yeah.
wife
Yeah.
isn't. She was training to be a wrestler. That's how we met. My
Okay.
father-in-law actually wrestled a lot out here and in
Okay.
California. That's
Okay.
why we chose to come out to Missouri, because that's where she's from. This is where she's
Okay.
from,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of hard because it's overwhelming to have three toddlers because
Yeah.
our kids are 4, 5, and 3. So not
I feel for you, my
not
friend. I
easy
feel
age.
for you.
Yeah, those are not easy ages to take
Yeah.
out to
No.
wrestling shows and whatnot.
No. No. All right. Well, let me ask you this. You're part of this Rabid Empire now with Nigel and Dread. And Nigel is expanding. I've seen him. I interviewed him probably in late November, I want to say, early December. Um, Talks very highly of you, of course. You're part of the Empire and Dread, but he's down in Texas and stuff. Are you planning on maybe broadening out to those areas as well, or what's kind of your plan
Definitely,
ahead? Yeah.
I have a lot of I have a lot of friends from California that do wrestle in Texas or around, and they're all expanding out this way, and I'm gonna try to expand towards them.
Yeah.
Um, it's I like Texas is very top on my list of places I'd want to wrestle because Eddie Guerrero's from there. He's a big
Hmm.
influence
Hmm.
with my style of wrestling. It kind of sucks because I used to do because I've been wrestling for 12 years now, going on 13,
Okay.
and or maybe it's 13 going on 14. Well, I started training in 2011 and made my debut in 2012. So 12 years working in the business, uh, 13 years training and being a part of it or whatever.
Yep.
But I do the Three Amigos a good amount before I came out here. But a lot of time I'm a heel for the most part.
Yeah.
So I'll hit two, one, two, and then I'll have them break it up. Reverse it because that's like an automatic crowd popper. When the
Yeah.
heel tries to hit the Three Amigos and the face stops it, they love that. So that's what I go with. But and I love Chavo and
Yeah.
Dirty Dom. I cannot stand the way they do the Three Amigos, dude. It's nothing like Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero has this fluid motion, and
Yeah.
it's like doing the spinneroonie. Like the way you see Booker T whips his legs for a spinneroonie, that's how Eddie Guerrero does it. And
Yeah.
when I started doing it, that's how I do it. I throw those legs. It looks like it felt stupid the first time because I felt like it looked ridiculous, but it makes it so
Okay.
much easier to get that momentum, go over, and set up for the next one. And it's
Wow.
something that like going out there would be a big deal for me. Like I would love to wrestle out there
Yeah.
where Eddie
Yeah.
wrestled because I do kind of like I love his the light cheat and steal stuff during the matches.
Yeah.
Oh man, I I try to do that as much as I can. Like it is where it's permitted and where it makes sense. I would win every match cheating that way if I could. Like literally every match. If I could cheat anyway, I would do it. Like those were my favorite matches. Like every time an
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero match came on, I was looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing how he was gonna do it, how he's gonna shoot to win.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he was incredible. Gone too soon, unfortunately. You know,
But
and
yeah,
it's almost been 20 years since he's passed. It's doesn't
yeah,
seem like it at all. But
nah, man.
let me ask you this: a couple more questions here. Some shows that you're coming up on. I know you're coming to Mid States here. Are you going to do all those shows in Harrison over the next
Yeah,
few weeks?
yep. I
Okay.
was planning on going out there and killing it for the next 4 weeks because I know it's the first 3 Saturdays and the last Sunday.
Okay.
So so it's really I'm really looking forward to it because I haven't wrestled like that consistency that consistently in a while.
Yeah.
Since
Yeah.
when I had my kids, I started having to like take less bookings
Yeah.
because I kept on knocking out my wife, so she was pregnant,
Yeah.
watching kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now it's a little bit easier. They're a little bit older. I'm trying to talk my wife into letting me take my at least my oldest son, mostly because I need someone to sell my merch. He'll be right there
Yeah. There
selling
you
merch.
go.
But
There you go. Yeah, and it's not expensive. You know, your stuff. Everybody's merch there is not expensive
no,
compared to and I love the atmosphere there. I'm going to tell you, Mid States, to me, I go as much as I can. You know, either in Springfield here or in Harrison, and I absolutely just love it from start to finish. Always put on a great show, and you're always and I will say this because I know this for a fact now because it's been announced. You guys are usually are almost always since I've started going sold out. I mean,
yeah,
it's the building's packed, the chairs are filled, and usually from start to finish, everybody's standing up because they're
yep,
watching the match. They're all when you get butts off of seats, that's telling you something. And when you get the reactions from the crowd, the pops, I mean, it's top notch. And I love what Jason has done. You know, you guys, you and Nigel and Dredd, you know, Stephen E's, or you know, he's got some guys coming in now, and you
yep.
know, I'm looking forward to watching you guys. So, hey, this tomorrow, Saturday, uh, you're going to be there. Are you going to do any new breed events coming up also, or are you just doing mid states right now?
So I know the next New Breed show is March 16th. Um, I believe that one is in not Mixor. I think that one is in Sedalia.
Sedalia.
Uh,
Okay.
and then after that one they have one April 6th at Macomb. Um,
Macomb, yeah.
so those yeah, so I for sure will be at the April 6th one. I'm gonna try to be at the March 16th one because that's 2 days after my son's birthday.
All right.
But I already talked about it with my wife, and I was like, we'll
Yeah.
do a party like on Friday, so I can
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
do the show on Saturday because
Yeah.
I enjoy doing that show. I love New Breed and Mid States. Like
Yeah.
the locker rooms,
Yeah.
the locker rooms are super. How do I put this? Like so in California, it's super high schooly. There's cliques, there's certain spots that you'll say hi to everybody, but it's like where you're not wanted and where you're wanted. Or
Yeah.
out here, it's everybody's one clique. Like
Good. I'm glad to
granted,
hear that.
you'll get like yeah, you'll get some guys who are just talking, but those are the guys who are talking about their match or have some other stuff going
Right.
on.
Yeah.
But like everyone is, I don't know, it's just like the way the fans feel being out there
Yeah.
and like how we're professional. That's how like as a wrestler when you're in the back, that's how it kind of feels like everyone's super
Yeah.
cool, so
Yeah.
super welcoming. I was
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I was super worried coming out here because when you're in California, you're kind of raised and taught that like anywhere that has like a Confederate flag or the South or whatever, not gonna like
Yeah.
you. If you're not white,
Yeah.
they're not gonna like you. So I
Wow.
kind of had that mindset coming out here. I was like, all right, they're probably not gonna like me, but whatever. I can use that to be a heel. 100% wrong. Like
Yeah.
Californians couldn't have been any more wrong. They
Yeah.
Everyone's nice out here. Like I've come across a few racist people, but it's
Yeah.
like it's generational racism. It's not like, oh, I
Yeah.
hate you because you're not white. It's like, they have these certain style of thinking, and
Hmm.
it's because they haven't been around, like they
Yeah.
were taught the way we were taught in California that they hate us out here. They were taught out here that we probably hate them over, like so it's just a division
Yeah.
within like generations or whatever, like being like younger generations being taught the wrong thing. And like I
Yeah.
hate to sound like a hippie, man, but we just gotta love each other, man.
Yeah, no, I 100%. I mean, unfortunately, you're going to have some type of that, stuff going on anywhere you go. And
Yeah.
I know, 95% of people are good people. They really are. You just have that 5%, like when you're in school, that 5% that ruin it for everybody else,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's unfortunate, but, I want to say one more time though, hey, if you see Lord Ateu on the card, get out there and see this man. See Mid States, see New Breed. Go out to these independent promotions. It don't cost more than $25 to get in, if that. Their
And those are for some
merchandise,
front row seats
and
too.
that's front row. That's right.
Yep.
Because in Harrison, it's like 25 bucks, but you're in the front row. All their merch is reasonable. Pictures are like 5-10 bucks. They'll sign it for you. It doesn't cost extra to get it
Yep.
signed. They'll take a picture with you. Their merchandise, if they have t-shirts, they're like $20-$25. Whatever it is, it's reasonable. You're not going to pay 50 bucks for a t-shirt like you would at a WWE AEW event, or 50
And then you're
bucks for
not
a
gonna get it.
picture
Yep.
that's not signed. You're going to get
Exactly. And
quality, and you're going to get quality wrestling. I'm going to tell you, and I'm saying this not just because you're on here, but this is the truth. You guys always put on a top-notch show from start to finish. Even the pre-match at the 6:15 or whatever it is pre-match.
those VIP
When it's
matches,
they're
they end
awesome.
up being pretty good. Yeah, yeah. They're
They
they're
are.
like because traditionally those are like the matches, like the beginning dark matches or whatever for
Yeah.
students or for people
Yeah.
who haven't been at the show yet. So it's where you wanted to get, where you want to get, you want to test out these new guys. All right, can
Yeah.
they work in front of an audience? Let's give them a little
Yeah.
audience to work in front of. But
Right.
over here, it's actually treated like if you want to think about it, it's like a special main event before the
It's
show
awesome.
starts for
It's
the
awesome.
VIP customers.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, the last one I think I went to in Springfield, they had the pre-show. I think it was a 6-man. I think actually you were in it, if I remember right. You Dread. I can't remember, but it was a 6-man.
No,
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 not you.
I
Okay.
wasn't. Yeah, no, I wasn't. The only tag matches I've done so far out here was me and Dread
Okay.
versus Scott Hansen and Blue
Okay.
Bolt.
Did you beat up?
I,
Did you
I
beat up? Did you beat up Gabe or Trey last time? It was one of those two, I think.
yeah, I beat up one of
Okay.
the. I think actually, you know what? Consistently, it was so the first time I want to say it was Trey, and then the second time it was Gabe.
I think it
Like
was Gabe. Yeah, the Gabe was the last one. Poor guy. He.
he
I mean, he probably put on a good match, but man, he got whooped.
you know what though? He's a strong dude. Like he
Yeah.
drilled me with a drop kick. Literally saw stars for a second. I was like, oh, and I'm different. I like to
Yeah.
be hit. Like like it wakes me up. Like when
Yeah.
in a match, most guys get pissed off when you get stiffed or when you get like
Yeah.
take a real shot. I like it. It makes not only does it make it real to the fans and they see that like, oh damn, but
Yeah.
it doesn't it
Yeah.
like at least for me, like it makes me feel like, oh, it gets me more into the character. And I'm like,
Yeah.
now I want to hit you. Boom, hit me back. Come on. Like that's I enjoy that. But I know most people don't like to be hit, so
Yeah.
but I always give a warning, like, hey, make contact with me. You hit me, everything's fine. If you miss me, I'm not going to sell it. That's just simple as that. The way I was taught.
Yeah.
If you're not
And
hit,
that's,
don't
yeah.
sell it because those it's those clips or those videos that get, oh,
Yeah.
this is why wrestling's fake
It's
or
fake. Yeah.
botchamania,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I've never wanted to be a part of that. I remember one video where Christian got Scott Steiner. It was at TNA, and he went to go hit his head on the either the apron or the steel steps, and Christian's hands was like barely even like right here, and Scott Steiner already went bam, hit his head, and I was like, and I was like in high school, so I already knew wrestling was fake, but it's just watching that, and it's like, oh god, now I got to hear it from all the friends that like give me shit
Yeah.
about wrestling, like, oh,
Yeah.
you still watching it? You still watching it? Well, now I'm doing it.
You're doing it, and we're loving it. As a fan, I absolutely love it. You guys are putting on a great product. I want to say one more time, Lord Ateu, thank you for coming on. And if you can, folks, tomorrow in Harrison, February 3rd, the following 3 weeks in a row, I think they're in Harrison. And then they have
Yep.
a show March 3rd, I think, in
I
Springfield.
think I believe it's March 6th.
6th, March 6th.
That
I'll put it on
the
here.
first Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it on here. But one more time, ladies and gentlemen, Lord Ateu, thank you for coming on today, sir. Great talk. Love talking to you. And I'll look forward to having you on again sometime.
Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to being back. Hopefully,
All
I'll
right.
have like some
Yeah.
nice shiny gold to be showing off.
There you go. Some belt power. Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
folks.
because me and Dredd are going to be going for those mid-state tag team titles. It's only a matter of time before whoever the fraternity, the Johnnies, doesn't matter. You guys are just warming it up for us.
Those would be awesome. That would be an awesome match. Either team. I will tell you one last thing before we go. That fraternity, I'll be honest, has really impressed me over the last year of them being a team and stuff. I have, when they first came out, they looked like Otis and Chad Gable,
yeah.
but they have really, blossomed and have come a long way. They've had the titles and they're great. They're a great team, and either team that you guys challenge, it'll be a classic match. I know it will be. So.
Yep. And for everyone watching, don't forget to go to YouTube, go to Mid States Wrestling.
Yes.
Check up on their shows, because you will see the evolution of the fraternity on there, because they just started with the tag team tournament that they had a couple of months ago, and you're gonna get to see the fraternity kind of find their groove as a tag team.
Yeah.
It's kind of rough, and then boom, they're just in a great stride. Same thing with the Johnnies.
Yeah.
Like you said, Mid States is amazing. Has a lot of amazing talent, and you guys can watch it every week. Every Friday it comes out. There's a new episode today.
Yeah.
Go catch up.
We'll put that down in the description, the Mid States YouTube channel. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, Lord Ateu, thank you for coming on. Folks, get out there and see these guys. Support these guys. They're out here busting their butts to put on a quality card for you. So thanks again, folks. If you're watching, thank you. If you're listening, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and we will talk to you soon.